What's up, people? Welcome back to Chef Ed's Plant-Based Corner. Today we are making one of my favorite, hands down favorite, one of my favorite things ever. All right, but before we jump into what exactly it is that we're making today, my name is Ed Harris. I want to welcome you back to my channel. Happy Sunday. And 4 o'clock every Sunday, we upload a delicious recipe for you. And today's recipe is definitely going to be one of those you're going to keep and you're going to use because, trust me, it's amazing. All right, now, what we're doing is bao buns, right? And bao buns is one of those soft, pillowy type of breads that just goes so well, savory or sweet, right? So today I'm gonna do just the dough itself, and then I'm gonna play around with different ways that we can actually use this dough, right? One, normally you make it to like a purse, and then with that you can kind of open it up and make sandwiches with it, or you can do sort of like your traditional type of dumplings, dim sum situation where you make a filling, you put it in the middle, you close it up, you steam it off. You can't go wrong either way. So let's jump into it because, like I said, this is one of my favorite things to eat. From the first time I ate it, I fell in love with it. Just think of savory marshmallow with a little bit of sweetness. Just amazing. When you talk about fluffy, pillowy, soft, this is what we're doing. So this is the vegan version of the best baos you can possibly make in your life. I hope you're ready. Buckle up, put your seatbelt on because it's about to be a wild ride. So first things first, let's talk about the ingredients, right? The ingredients for this is very simple. We have all-purpose flour, baking powder, yeast, sugar, salt, a little bit of oil, plant-based milk, of course, and some water. That's it. Very simple, very easy. And honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, how cool would it be if we did vanilla bean bao? I've never seen that anywhere, and I'm going on record right now to say that this is the first time you've probably ever heard of that. And for my peeps out there that know about bao buns, I know you've never had a vanilla bean bao bun. So I'm mad because I wish I had some vanilla beans, because I would definitely put some in there because I know it's gonna just bring it up to another level. And no, I don't want to use vanilla essence. I want to use the beans because I like biting into it. I like the specks that it leaves in your dough. And this dough, when it's done, it's gonna be nice and white. So the specks would look really amazing in here. So let's just get this started. Let's get our yeast activated, right? And the way we get our yeast activated, right? So yeast into the bowl. Right, then we're gonna add our sugar. The sugar feeds the yeast, right? We're gonna go next with our warm. Yep, make sure your water and your milk is not too hot, right? This recipe calls for warm milk and warm water. So you wanna be very careful when you're warming up your milk and your water, because if it's too hot, it's gonna kill your yeast. And we definitely don't want that, because if we kill the yeast, then if we kill the yeast, we're not gonna have that nice rise that we want. All right? So this is gonna sit for about 20 minutes, and then we will be right back. But before we go, let's add our oil into here as well. And we're gonna put this to the side, all right? All right, people, so while our yeast is doing its magic, let's get the second part of this party started, right? So into our 5 cups of flour, we're doing a big batch, right? The cool thing about these bao buns is that after you make them, they freeze really well. So then you can just pull them out, let them defrost, re-warm them up in the steamer, and they'll be good to go, all right? So we're adding the rest of our sugar. The sugar that we use for this recipe gets divided into 2, right? Half of it goes into the yeast, the other half goes into the dry mix, which is our flour, salt, and baking powder. right? And then what we're gonna do is just give this a light little mix, right? You can make this dish in a bowl, in a mixing bowl, but I'm doing a double recipe. So instead of doing this by hand, we're gonna go with our trusty old mixer right here. You know what I mean? And since I have your attention, please remember, if you haven't done so already, to turn on your notifications, click on the subscribe button, right? And like and share. But most importantly, please leave a comment if there's anything you want to know about this particular recipe or anything that I'm doing right now that you are interested in learning more about. Okay? We're gonna leave that alone and we'll be right back. We still have 7 more minutes before our yeast will be ready. And what you want to look for with your yeast is, okay, there's a few things. One, you want to make sure that you're seeing little tiny bubbles and your yeast mix is starting to foam. If it doesn't foam, that means that it is not good yeast and you need to redo it and get fresh yeast, all right? So that is the one telltale sign, like it's the one way to know if your stuff is gonna be good, is if there is a rising of the liquid in your bowl, all right? So if your water is too hot, it won't happen. If your yeast is not good, it won't happen. If your milk is too hot, it won't happen. So once all those things are correct and how they're supposed to be, you're gonna get what's going on right now. I don't wanna touch it right now, so when we reach our 10 minutes, then I'll show you what you should be seeing in your bowl when you activate your yeast, all right? And this goes for any kind of baking that you're doing that yeast is involved, and you need to kind of start the engine, you know, pre-start the engine of the yeast. This is what you want to look for, all right? So we'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so this is what I was talking about when I say that there should be like a cloud, like a foam. So this is what we're looking for, all right? So it's been 10 minutes. Let's get back to this party. All right, people, our yeast is ready to go. We're gonna just give this a little mix so we can get all of that out of the bowl. All right. We're gonna turn on our mixer on 1. All right, we wanna gently incorporate our wet into our dry. All right, so we're gonna slowly mix this in. You wanna be very careful when you're doing this, all right? We're also gonna scrape out all of this good stuff, all right? Okay. So the whole idea right now with this dough is that we want it to be, obviously form a dough, but we want it to be done in such a way that it's not too sticky, wet enough where it's nice and soft, sticky, not at all, right? And we should be able to clean the sides of the bowl with the dough. So once that dough is coming off of the corners of the bowl, we're good. Once most of the dough has formed, then we will speed it up to about medium speed for about 3 to 4 minutes so we can really knead the dough, right? And build that gluten. Alright, we're gonna gradually raise the speed, so we're gonna go with 1 more speed, right? We're gonna speed it up just a little bit. This is why I like doing this by the machine, because when it doubles the recipe, it's a lot of dough to kind of work by hand, but it's not impossible. It just takes some more time, you know? I worked in Budokan in New York City, we would make bao buns, but we would use Hong Kong flour. Really cool, but we made tons of bao buns. I would just snack on them all day after they're made. When these are freshly made, woo, so good. All right, so I'm gonna just let this finish doing its thing, and then we'll come back once the dough is ready. All right. So this is what I was talking about. The bowl, it's nice and clean. Nothing is sticking, right? That's what you're looking for. All right, so our dough is done. All right, we're gonna form a ball. Nice and clean. So it's a sign of a good dough. All right, so we're gonna form this into a ball. And then we're gonna just put it into our bowl and let it rise. I'm gonna spray this with a little bit of non-stick so it doesn't stick as it's rising. Cover it with plastic. And what we're looking for is for this to triple in size. All right, so I had my oven on to 300 degrees for about 2 minutes, just so it's nice and warm and toasty in here. Oh, gotta move that rack. Okay, and we'll put this right in. All right, so we're gonna let that proof until it's nice and triple in size, massive, and then we will continue with this delicious journey of bao buns. Okay? Don't go anywhere. What's up, Nativa peeps? I am really excited about this, and let me show you, or let's talk about what we're gonna do. So the first thing that came to my mind was make some kind of filling that could go really well with a bao bun. So I already have the dough proofing right now for the bao buns. So I'm gonna just use this liquid, this cream, this concentrate, right? And I'm gonna fortify it with some actual coconut shreds so the filling can have some kind of substance to it. And we're gonna season it with some vanilla, you know, some really nice warm spices, things like that, and let's see what happens. All right, stay tuned. All right, folks, so I got my coconut concentrate to melt, so it's right here. All right, it's nice and loose, very liquidy, looks very creamy. Now I'm gonna add 3 tablespoons of sugar, 1 cup of coconut. Right, this is desiccated coconut, and then I'm also gonna add a teaspoon of vanilla, you know, for extra flavor, right? And we're gonna give this a nice little mix. Our bao bun dough is almost ready. It has about 30 minutes. So we're gonna just get our filling ready. And I used the whole package of coconut concentrate, right? So this is what we have right now. I would normally add some butter to this and maybe even some butter, maybe a little bit of flour, just a little bit. But because of how the concentrate is, I think we'll be perfectly fine without adding any of those because, you know, coconut is rich and it's fatty on its own. So we really don't need to add butter, especially with the puree, you know, the paste that you guys sent. Nice. Not too sweet. Has some texture and crunch from the desiccated coconuts. But when this steams, it's gonna be even better. So actually what I wanna do is take it a step further because the bao buns is gonna be really white. And the filling is gonna also be very white. So we're gonna color this so the filling can really stand out, you know what I mean? So let's see what we're gonna go with. Let's go with like some kind of crazy neon reddish color. Because there's this dish in the Caribbean where they do, it's like a coconut bread. They call it Solara, and the coconut is very red. It's like pinkish red. So we're gonna drop a few drops of food coloring into this baby and give it, oh yes, that's what I'm talking about. Perfect. Right now, our bao bun is gonna look even more cool and delicious. See the color? Right, it's like a nice mauve, a nice pink, right? So that's what we want. All right, we don't want too much food coloring because, you know, we want everything else in the filling to sing, right? So, I'll be right back. One thing I would say I noticed about the coconut concentrate, it's kind of starchy, which kind of gives it a very weird kind of mouthfeel if you just have it by itself. So just something to, you know, think about. Not sure what it is, but it's definitely lending to a very starchy kind of liquid. So when you taste it, it almost coats your tongue in a way, you know, your tongue. Even with the mix and the filling like this, it almost immediately just kind of like sticks to my mouth, right? Until you kind of eat it and it kind of disappears and goes away. But that initial bite of it, taste of it, is very starchy, right? Like if you took potato starch or cornstarch and you kind of mix it with a liquid and then put it into your mouth, it's given that kind of mouthfeel. What's up, people? The dough has been proofing for about 2 hours. See, it's almost to the top of the plastic, right? This is my double steamer, my bamboo basket, which we're gonna use to steam these beautiful bao buns. Super important that you have a double, that you have some kind of steamer equipment, because this is the only way to really do this dough properly, all right? It has to be steamed, not baked, nothing else. And you wanna have paper that is perforated, right? So the steam can actually come through and circle around in the basket and do its thing. So I'm gonna layer one each on my baskets, right? Put these down, and then I'm gonna just move this over to the side, because now for the most important part, while we're getting our dough ready, I have water on low so I can immediately start to steam once I'm ready. After we roll this out, we're gonna let it proof for about 10-15 minutes or so, just so it can give it a last rising situation, and then we will actually steam them, all right? So normally you shouldn't really need any flour to roll this out, because you don't wanna add too much flour to it, because that will affect the final product. So we'll get some flour out just in case we need it, but you know, what I like to do is just lightly dust the area I'm gonna roll it out in, just very lightly. See, almost no flour in my hands. Oh my goodness, look at that. It's like air, right? So soft and very warm, okay? So I'm gonna just roll this around. The dough is actually nice and dry. Not necessarily dry, but just perfect for rolling out, right? It shouldn't be sticking at all, okay? And you wanna roll this out to about 1/4 of an inch, right? You wanna roll this out to 1/4 of an inch. And I like to kind of roll it out into somewhat of a circle, not a circle, a square, because a lot of people, they will roll this out and they will cut it into circles. I don't like those kind of bao buns. I like to do rectangles with my bao buns, so it gives off a really cool shape, which you will see. All right, so let's roll this out a little bit more here. Boom, boom, boom. All right. Okay, we'll roll this out a little bit more. We don't want it too thick, but we don't want it too thin either, all right? Because the thicker this dough is, the bigger your dumplings are gonna be, all right? Jen, can you tell them kids? Please. Thank you.
No worries.
Alrighty, so our dough is rolled out to what we need it to be, right? Not too thick, like I said, not too thin. Now comes the fun part where we're going to cut this. All right, you can use a pizza cutter or you can use a knife, whatever works easier for you. It's totally cool. So I'm gonna use every part of my dough. So there will be some that will be perfect and there will be some that will not be so perfect, and that's totally fine, right? Because we are home, so no big deal. But I'm cutting these, I would say about 1.5 inches, right? Apart from each other. That'll give us a lot of surface room for what we're about to do, right? The other thing I would say is, this is one way to do it, right? And with this particular way of doing it, we're gonna do the flaps, the sandwiches, right? Now the rest of the dough that I rolled out, we can just roll all of it like this. The idea here is we can also use some of this dough to make the stuffed bao buns. So what I think I'm gonna do is I am going to leave this piece by itself like this, uncut, and we're gonna cut out circles with this, and then we're gonna actually form the different bao buns, right? So just so you get 2 ideas from this one thing. All right, so let me get my cutter. Right here, this should be a good size. Maybe we'll go one size bigger. Nope. All right, let's go with this size. Let's go with this size. Yeah, this is fine. We're gonna go with this size, right? So the idea here is to cut out your circles with these, and you know, this way, because I'm cutting some, we have this dough already. The other way to do this would be to just cut your dough in half or quarters, and then that way you can maximize using all of your dough without actually having to cut out shapes. You would just roll it into a log and then you would cut pieces. You know what I mean? So that's probably what I'm gonna do with the scraps. Instead of throwing it away, we're gonna just kind of combine it and we're gonna do logs with the rest of this. So I'm gonna just put this in a little bit of foil for a second. So you can just sit, and then we will take care of that later. All right, now I have some filling that I made. This is coconut, desiccated coconut with some vanilla, a little bit of sugar, and coconut concentrate, right? It's like a coconut cream of sorts. New ingredient that Nativa is working on, so I'm kind of testing it out for them. So, you know, more about that later on, right? So the idea here is to do this with our dough. We have our circle, right? We're gonna take a little bit of these like this, put it right in the center. You don't want to put too much, right? Because you want to be able to seal this up completely, right? So about that much, and then we're gonna just kind of pinch this all the way around, right? The object is to get it so it's nice and crimped like this. You can leave it open so it looks like a rose, or you can close it completely. If we made these bigger, we can close it completely. So since these are small, we're not gonna close them completely, all right? And I'm gonna put this over on my basket, right? And we're gonna let that sit just like that. Now the ones I really wanted to show you, I'm gonna do right now. These don't get any filling at all, right? So I'm gonna put these over to the side here, right? So we can get them out of the way, so we can work with these babies. All right, so we're gonna do one at a time so we can cut these properly. All right. This dough feels great, so I'm very happy about that. Okay, here we go. So we're gonna cut these, let's say 3 inches, right? Because the longer we cut these, the more of a fold over it's gonna have. The shorter we cut them, the less of a fold over they're gonna have, right? So you wanna make sure that you have enough to work with. Okay, so we can do some long, we can do some short, so you kind of get an idea of where you would wanna cut yours. Because at the end of the day, this is what you're gonna have your surface space with, so you can make those delicious bao bun sandwiches, right? So you take one piece that you have like this, you take your paintbrush, all right, you dip it into your oil. Okay, if you want to get fancy, you can use some seasoned oil, but it depends on what you're going to use these for, right? If it's a savory application, then totally seasoned oil would be fine with this, right? So take your oil, you dip it in, and you want to brush halfway. And then you just want to fold this over evenly like that. And just kind of press it down, just lightly. You don't want to squeeze it, all right? Just press it down very lightly. And then this goes right into our tray, our steam basket, like this. All right, so I'm gonna do the rest of these. I'll do one more so you can see. All right, we take our bao bun dough, brush halfway, right? And then we fold it over, just like that. And then we just press it down very gently, all right? And we put this right into our basket. Okay, we don't want to put it too close because this is going to proof again just for a little bit, so we don't want it too close. All right, so I'll finish the rest of this and I'll be back. So I have both baskets filled, as you can see, right? So we're gonna let this sit for about, I said 10 to 15 minutes. It really just depends on where you are, how warm it is. So my oven is still pretty warm, so if you're not in a really warm space and you need to do this, it might take 20 minutes or so. But the whole idea is to just let it proof a little bit more so you can get even more airy. You don't have to proof it again, you can just steam it and it'll be fine. I like to let it proof a little bit more. Like I said, the whole idea of this is to be light, fluffy, and airy, okay? So I'm gonna finish the rest of these and just have them proof somewhere else, so that way I can just transfer them to the basket when those are done steaming, so we can have the rest ready to go, okay? All right, folks. So we have our bao bun dough ready to go, rolled out real nice. We have our filling, right? So we're gonna take a little bit of the filling, put it in the center, not too much, all right? And then we're going to pinch this around, just like that, right? We're gonna put these to the side because these need to proof for about 20 minutes or so. And once they're done, we can move on to the next step, which is the actual steaming of the bao buns. I'm adding about a tablespoon of filling. Last one. Okay, so we're gonna let these proof and then we'll be back. All right, peeps, so it's been about 20 minutes. All right, so we're gonna get these out of the oven. All right, I have a few proofing, so we're gonna just rotate some around. All right, take out the first batch that we put in. We have our water boiling. I'm gonna crank it up just for a second. This is gonna stay just the way it is. Once the water comes to a boil, which is, we're gonna put this right on top and we're gonna let this steam for about 10 minutes or so, right? So time will vary based on how thick or how thin you rolled it out, all right? But best case scenario, once it's done steaming or you think it's done, just take one out and try it. If it's a little raw, then you know it needs to go a little bit longer. If it's ready, then it's ready. But a good rule of thumb is to steam it for about 10 minutes, all right? So like TV magic, we're gonna fast forward and it'll be ready, like bam. So our bao buns are ready. I'm about to show you the finished proof of what they look like. All right, cover this one because it's there. But look at this beauty, right? See all that steam? But you see how nice and fluffy they got, all right? So that's how we make bao buns. These are vegan bao buns. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure you turn on your notifications. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share, like, and comment, all right? This is it, and I can't wait to eat these later on, okay? I'm gonna make some marinated tofu, some pickles, cucumber, cilantro, all that good stuff, some gochujang, and we're gonna really tear into this baby, all right? So, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, this is Chef Ed, and I'm out. Peace out. Next Sunday, 4 p.m. A new video will be up, and yeah, enjoy.